This is The Scoop for Friday.
I'm Lisa Marzilli with the WMNF News headlines. A study from the University of Florida shows that mosquitoes can adapt to climate change. WMNF's Chris Young reports that this adaptation could mean changes when it comes to the spread of harmful disease.
Matthew Thomas is the director of the Invasion Science Research Institute at the University of Florida. His team studied the yellow fever mosquito, which is responsible for transmitting diseases like dengue, Zika, yellow fever, and more. They analyzed how the mosquito adapts to different temperatures.
The dynamics and distribution of mosquito-borne diseases is strongly influenced by the environment. So as environments change through, for example, climate change, then we expect disease risk to change.
The results showed that temperature tolerance of mosquitoes, together with other key traits such as survival and reproduction, could shift in response to temperature within just 10 generations. What does this mean?
That we don't necessarily have the answers, but it points to how we might do more research to have better informed predictions to determine risk.
Thomas emphasizes that there will be winners and losers, and disease spread is influenced by socioeconomic elements. For WMNF News, I'm Chris Young.
In 2022, Hurricane Ian caused widespread destruction in southwest and central Florida. WMNF Sean Canan reports a new investigation has found that groups connected to Governor DeSantis got relief funds quickly while other groups missed out.
In the months after Hurricane Ian, many Floridians were struggling to get relief funds, and big donations were rolling in to the Florida Disaster Fund. But an investigation by Tom Scherberger with the Florida Trident found that organizations with political ties to Ron DeSantis got money quickly, while other groups were forced to wait. The Florida Disaster Fund once had a rigorous competitive grant system requiring proof of how donations are spent, but that was scrapped. Instead, the funds in those early months handed out millions of dollars in expedited grants to organizations with no explicit training or experience in emergency disaster relief. Those groups, like the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association and the faith-based nonprofit The Impact Foundation, had political ties to DeSantis. You can read the Trident's report on WMNF.org. For WMNF News, I'm Sean Canan.
The Hillsborough County School Board will soon decide the fate of 2 books that are being challenged as inappropriate for students. School Board member Jessica Vaughn spoke about the challenge process yesterday on WMNF Surly Voices.
Right now, we currently have 2 book challenges. Hillsborough County has done a fantastic job of keeping our procedures in place and not kind of cowering to the legislation. Some of us have ended up on the governor's hit list because of this. But essentially, first, if a book is challenged, it has to be challenged at the local school level. So we have 2 schools where there were book challenges. We have Newsom High, where they're challenging a book called Identical, which is written in poetry and prose. And it's actually, trigger warning, it's a story about 2 identical twins that face a lot of abuse and self-harm, but it's had a lot of impact on our students. And then there's a second book at Newsom High School called Blankets, which is a graphic novel. And both of those books, for the process, first go through a school-based committee. At the beginning of every year, the librarian picks a committee made up of community members, school members, some have students, a PTA member, for a book review committee. They all read the book, they have a very long conversation, and they vote about keeping the book in their own school, in their own community, because every community is different and has different values on what's important in literacy for them. Once that happens, if they decide to keep the book, first let me also say that due to legislation, as soon as a book is challenged, all copies of that are taken out of our school system and the kids do not have access to it as soon as the challenge comes in. So these books are currently not accessible by our students.
That's School Board member Jessica Vaughn speaking yesterday about book challenges on WMNF Surly Voices. You can hear the full show on WMNF.org. In weather, it's going to be partly sunny with a high of 83 today. Overnight lows will be in the upper 60s. Sunny and breezy with a high of 82 on Saturday. I'm Lisa Marzilli with the WMNF News headlines.
This is The Scoop, recorded at WMNF Tampa.